Sagittarius, the week of July 26th to August 1st, 2026, hands you one of the luckiest placements the sky offers, sitting directly in your own natural territory. The Sun meets Jupiter, your ruling planet, in an exact conjunction on July 29th, sitting in your ninth house of beliefs, travel, and higher learning, genuinely your home turf. This is the kind of placement astrologers wait years to see land this cleanly. Your own ruler, exactly conjunct the Sun, in the house that matches your sign's deepest nature. But the same day, a full moon lands in Aquarius, conjunct Pluto, in your third house of communication, forming an exact opposition to that big, expansive glow. Saturn also stations exactly retrograde on July 26th at 14 degrees Aries, joining Neptune in your fifth house of creativity and romance, and the lunar nodes shift axis this same week. Very few weeks land this much direct weight on your own ruling planet. And it's worth taking the timing seriously as more than a passing lucky moment. Let's go through what all of this actually means for your money, your relationships, and your energy, using the real sky, not generic guesswork. Money and career benefit this week from a practical, detail-oriented boost through Venus in Virgo, sitting in your 10th house of career and public standing. This placement rewards actually polishing your professional presentation, following up properly, refining a proposal, making sure the details of your reputation match the bigger vision you're known for. Sagittarius tends to trust that the big idea will carry itself. This week specifically rewards the unglamorous follow-through that usually gets left for later. An email you meant to send, a document you meant to finalize, or feedback you've been avoiding actually reading closely. Venus in Virgo makes this kind of detail work genuinely satisfying this week rather than tedious. The satisfaction here isn't accidental. Virgo energy rewards exactly the kind of careful attention Sagittarius tends to skip past on the way to the next big idea. Mars in Gemini, meanwhile, sits in your 7th house of partnerships, giving you real decisiveness in negotiations or collaborative professional decisions this week. If a deal or a partnership arrangement needs a direct push, this is a good week to make it rather than continuing to leave it open-ended. Since Mars energy here won't stay this assertive indefinitely, early in the week, while the moon sits in Capricorn, your 2nd house of money, use the steadier mood there to review actual numbers before the bigger relational events of the week. Pull your focus elsewhere. A quick, honest look at what's coming in versus what's going out will feel more grounding than usual under this influence, even if it's not a task you'd normally choose to prioritize. Relationships carry real tension this week through an exact Venus-Mars square on July 28th into the 29th. Venus in Virgo sits in your 10th house of career and public reputation, while Mars in Gemini sits in your 7th house of partnerships. And the square between them suggests a genuine pull between maintaining your public image and being fully present with a partner or collaborator. You might find a partner wanting more direct attention right when your professional reputation is asking for careful management. And Sagittarius's his usual solution, moving fast and figuring it out later, works less well this week than actually naming the conflict out loud. If you're partnered, be honest about which one is getting less of you right now rather than assuming both can run at full capacity simultaneously. This square doesn't ask you to choose permanently between career polish and partnership presence, just to be truthful this week about which one is currently winning the tug of war, rather than pretending you're giving both full attention when you're not. If you're single, this square might show up as putting more energy into how you're perceived professionally than into actually pursuing a connection. You've been genuinely curious about worth noticing if that's become the more comfortable default. Sagittarius can treat a busy, visible career as a legitimate reason to postpone something personal indefinitely. And this week's square is specifically asking whether that reason is real or just convenient. Energy and health this week center on a real checkpoint around creativity and joy. Saturn stations exactly retrograde on July 26th, joining Neptune, already retrograde, in your fifth house of creativity, romance, and self-expression. A station presses harder than an ordinary transit, since the planet appears to hang almost motionless in the sky, and with Neptune sitting in the same house. This week may bring genuine confusion about whether a creative pursuit or romantic interest you've been treating lightly actually deserves real commitment and structure. Sagittarius often prefers to keep things fun and undefined rather than pin them down, and this particular station is specifically testing whether that lightness is genuine freedom or a way of avoiding something that actually matters to you. Given that this retrograde lasts until December, this week isn't asking for an immediate verdict. Just an honest first look at whether keeping it casual still serves you here, or whether it's become a habit that quietly protects you from admitting you actually want more. Notice this week whether you talk about a creative project or a romantic interest with genuine lightness, or with a slightly defensive humor that keeps anyone, including yourself, from taking it too seriously. There's a real difference between a light touch that comes from genuine ease and one that's actually protecting you from the vulnerability of caring openly. And this week's sky is well suited to telling the two apart if you're willing to look honestly. There's a longer story underneath this single week worth naming briefly. The lunar nodes shifting onto the Aquarius-Leo axis lands the North Node in your third house of everyday communication and local connection, and the South Node in your ninth house of big picture beliefs and travel. For the next 18 months, your growth edge lies in genuinely engaging with the small, local, everyday conversations right in front of you, rather than the more familiar, well-practiced pull toward bigger horizons and grand philosophy. This is a real stretch for a sign that often finds meaning in the distant and the abstract more readily than in the immediate and the small a. Conversation with a neighbor, a sibling, a local commitment can carry as much weight over the coming months as a trip across the world once did. This week's full moon is the opening note of that longer chapter, arriving right as your ruler's biggest moment of the year unfolds in the exact house the nodes are now asking you to loosen your grip on. It's a striking pairing. The sky hands you a genuine expansion in the house you already know best. At the very same moment, it asks you to stop building fluency somewhere less familiar. So, here's where this actually leaves you, Sagittarius, heading into August. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction hands you a genuine, well-earned expansion of belief and opportunity this week. The full moon and the nodal shift are both asking whether you're actually engaging with the people and details right in front of you, or staying comfortably focused on the bigger horizon instead. None of this asks you to abandon the big picture that genuinely suits you just to notice. This week, specifically, whether the small conversation in front of you is getting the same honest attention as the distant, exciting one. A truly great week for you doesn't have to choose between the two. It just needs both to actually get their due. If this reading resonated with you, hit like and subscribe.